Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It is a Monday. It is Sports Daily, and we are glad to be here with you for the full week here, right on KFH, right on our video streams. Any way you listen to the program, Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor here with you. Today, Chad Chambers driving this ship for us, manning that IHOP hotline for you, 869-1240. Always the way to get in touch with the program. Those video streams I mentioned a good way, too. You can do that. You can watch us on Facebook, on YouTube, on social media there with X, and you can leave comments there. Those feed right to us so we can see those. We can put them on the air, on the stream. Always appreciate that. Major League Baseball, big weekend. You got the Royals to talk about. Tommy and I had a little bet over the weekend. We'll get into that later. NBA playoffs underway. Are you in on the NBA playoffs yet? We'll explore. And, of course, the NFL draft. We are counting down now the minutes, I think, to a draft that, boy, I don't think I'm the only one, but I think this first night of the draft is going to be like must-see TV as, you know, high drama, trades, all these things. And we continue to ponder what it is the Kansas City Chiefs may do. Tommy, how are you? Good morning.
I'm good. Good weekend. Enjoyed it. Didn't really do a whole lot. Kind of laid low. Watched a bunch of baseball, so that was great. And glad to be here today. Looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, it's going to be, it'll be a good day. It'll be a good week. Not that we're really following, I don't even know what the golf tournament was, the Heritage.
The RBC Heritage. Yes,
but
sir.
we do have an eye on it because we've wondered about the possibility of just auto betting Scotty Scheffler. Do you know? I didn't see. Do you know what his odds were before this one? I sort of meant it for the Masters, but maybe we should mean it for everything.
Yeah, I don't know what his odds were. I mean, I know for sure he was the favorite. And so, obviously came off a Masters win for that. I'm guessing, I don't know, I'd have to go back and look, maybe 3-1, 4-1, something like that to win.
Yeah,
he did.
Not good.
And you know what? It finished up early this morning. They had to delay the into the final round yesterday because of rain. Went out there and won by 3 strokes. So, you know, just another dominant performance from the best golfer in the world.
Yeah, we'll continue to wonder about that. The Royals, they dropped 2 of 3. Starting pitching not amazing in the series against one of the best offenses in baseball, though. Now they get 4 against another pretty good offense in Toronto. So that series just rolls right on through here. They'll play all the way through. They play tonight, in fact, at 7:40. And that is a game that you will hear right here on KFH. 6:40, 6:30 pregame begins for the Royals. I keep forgetting they moved those start times up on weekday games. But we'll have that for you later. We'll talk a little bit about that series. A lot to get to today. Transfer portal news. I don't think we had anything over the weekend, Tommy, at least that I saw, between K-State, Wichita State, and KU. The big move last week, obviously late in the week for KU. I think that's been the most recent of the things that we've seen.
Yeah, nothing that really came down as far as, you know, decisions or anything, although there was an article in the Kansas City Star. Gary Bedore wrote an article about Hunter Dickinson. I think he did an interview with Dickinson over the weekend where Dickinson said that he'd like to have a decision made sooner rather than later. So he didn't reveal if he was going to enter his name. I said it last week. I think that what Hunter Dickinson is waiting on is just fully knowing what the roster at KU is going to look like around him. And we said it when we've said it a couple different times that we both feel like Bill Self is not quite done working in the portal. So I think that there's, you know, maybe one other name that, you know, maybe will be committing to Kansas at some point. And then at that point, I would imagine Dickinson will return, but he gave no indication one way or another if he's entering the draft or if he's coming back for another year at KU.
But isn't that a little chicken in the egg? Let's talk about this for a second. Isn't that chicken in the egg? Because Bill Self's not going to know what he's going to do in the portal unless he knows whether or not he needs a center, right? Like you can't.
I think Bill Self knows. I think Bill Self knows. I just don't
think he knows what Hunter Dickinson's going to do.
Yeah, I think he knows that Hunter Dickinson is coming back. I think he feels pretty good about that.
Well, but then, okay, if that's the case, then what's Hunter Dickinson waiting for?
Well, it's a public announcement, right? I mean, there's going to
No,
be
that's
a
what I'm.
difference
That's
between.
that's what I mean. Like, what are we? Is this just posturing, or is he genuinely waiting on something? Because I think those are two different things that are pretty important.
Well, I think that from a
Bill Self
public,
needs, like, you need
yeah,
to know, like, dude, are you here or
I think
not?
Bill
Because
Self
if you're
knows. I think
not, we're gonna
Bill
run
Self
out of
knows.
time.
He knows because otherwise he'd be attacking the portal at that position much heavier than he has been, which really has been non-existent. I mean, you've not seen Kansas linked to big
But
men
there's no
in the portal. So
real reason for Dickinson to delay this decision.
I
Does
don't think he's
Dickinson
delaying the
think
decision. I think
does
he's
he think
delaying the
he's a
announcement
draft
of the
guy?
decision. I think
Okay,
he's delaying the
what
announcement
if
of the
he does
decision.
this? What if he does this? What if he says, I'm going to test the NBA draft with the option to come back? Do you wait at that point if you're Bill Self to go find his replacement?
Well, I don't think he's doing that because I think he probably would have already announced that.
But if he's not announcing that, then what is he waiting on to announce?
It wouldn't, if it were me, if I'm kind of putting myself in his shoes and trying to figure out doing what he's doing. I mean, I think that there's an argument that could be made that he is for the announcement, not the decision. He's already made the decision, I think, in my mind. But the announcement, I think he's waiting on the final pieces of the roster outside of him to be put together. And then here's an announcement that Hunter Dickinson is coming back, to wrap up the total roster. I think that, he's kind of the last piece of the puzzle coming back. Because, I mean, remember, I think Kevin McCullough did something similar. Wasn't his announcement?
But Kevin
fairly late in
McCullough
the
was,
game?
It was, but Kevin McCullough was really genuinely testing the NBA draft waters. Like, he really needed to go through that process. If Hunter Dickinson thinks that that's the case, then he could have already said that, though, right? Like, you could have already done the whole draft thing. Most guys that are doing the draft thing have already done the draft thing. And I will fully admit that there is a component that escapes me of wanting the attention in these announcements. I get that part of it, and maybe it is as simple as that. And if it is, okay,
I
great.
think that's what it is.
But at the same time, there's business to be done. So, if you better be able to have a real honest conversation if you're Bill Self to Hunter Dickinson and be like, dude, like, we need your decision. You can have the full day. You can have all the attention. We'll make you a video. We'll do all this stuff. We'll call you a damn press conference, whatever
I think
you
he
want.
knows. I don't think that there's a question about whether or not Bill Self knows what Hunter Dickinson is going to do or what his plans are. Like, I don't think that Bill Self is in the dark like we are about what Hunter Dickinson is planning on doing. I just think that these are conversations that are being had, and there are clues that have dropped everywhere about the fact that he's coming back.
Dickinson's waiting to see the rest of the roster, you're saying for the attention to say, and
Correct.
I'm the final piece, not
and
because
I'm the
he
final
needs
piece coming
to
back. Correct.
Okay, so I misunderstood. I thought you meant he was waiting to say, I need you to add another piece before I
No.
Okay.
I think that it's, hey, here's the transfer guys are coming in. Here's how we're reloading. Here's the returners. And finally returning for his last season at Kansas, Hunter Dickinson is back once everything else has been announced. I think that's what's happening.
The last entrance to the Royal Rumble to get the crowd pumped.
Exactly.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah. That's fine. I don't care then. Like, and that's the thing too. Like, I don't understand that part of it. I don't understand. This is, like the draw and appeal of social media is wild. I remember, we used to, for Catch It Kansas, would try really hard. We did this with, you remember Xavier Kelly, stud defensive lineman, ended up at Clemson. So we would tell the young, like, guys, we will take your signing live. Like, you see, you used to see on ESPN or whatever. Like, we'll do that. Like, you'll have a live audience. It'll be awesome. And it was always really stressful to do that because you had a lot of things going on to try to pull that off. And we did. I think we did it with Ben Powers. We did it a few times. We've done it with others. That's not even really on the radar much anymore because guys want to put out something on X or on Twitter or whatever. And I'm like, man, you understand, like, you had a much larger audience doing it this other way. You got like 300 people. Like, the gratification of it is wild. But That's what's changing. And so, like, sometimes in the portal, like, I guarantee you, Tommy, there are coaches that find out player decisions based on social media. There is no doubt about it, because the first thing you're wired to do is like, ooh, can I make something? Can I get a little dopamine from seeing how many people retweet and like it? Like, Hunter Dickinson's been playing. He's been at this game for like how many years now? How many years? Does he have 4 full years under his belt? I think.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, like, man, just come back. Like, you got your thing. You don't need all that. Everyone's excited to have you back. I just keep wondering, like, how long do you wait here before you just go attack? And I don't know. It was a weird rabbit hole I just went down.
I think it's an attention thing, right or wrong. I think that's what it is.
I don't mean,
and
I don't want
also,
that to sound negative either. It's fine to make it an attention thing, but I also don't want to take attention away from the rest of my team. I don't want, like,
I also think that, if he ultimately makes an announcement that he is testing the waters of the NBA draft while still maintaining his college eligibility, that's not going to concern me either. And here's why. Let me tell you why, and I'll explain. It's different than the Johnny Furphy situation.
Sure.
Because, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, there have been clues. There are always clues as to the direction that a program is going as they're utilizing the transfer portal. And in the Johnny Furphy case, he made that announcement. He's testing the waters, maintaining his college eligibility, all of that. But in the meantime, Bill Self is going out and landing transfer portal players that, by all accounts, are going to replace Johnny Furphy in the starting lineup. Tell me or show me during this entire transfer portal window where a potential Hunter Dickinson replacement has been targeted by Kansas at all. There hasn't been. So that's why
and there really aren't very many out there either.
It leads me to believe that Bill Self has known all along what Hunter Dickinson's plans are, that they've been in conversations about it. And even if he tests the water for the NBA draft, I think Bill Self feels pretty confident, or very confident, that Dickinson will ultimately be back, even if he does throw his name in the hat for the NBA draft. I'm sure that he's gathering feedback right now from NBA scouts and that sort of thing. That's probably why, part of the reason why he hasn't made a formal announcement one way or the other. He might kind of be on the fringe. Even if he decides to throw his hat in the ring, I think the only way that I would feel nervous about whether or not he's coming back would be if there are viable replacements to that position that Bill Self is targeting in the transfer portal. That has not happened. So even if he does say he's going to do that, I don't have a big time level of concern.
It's just odd that it's taking this long for that, because I agree. I've thought all along he's coming back, and it, like, at this point, for any decision to be made, like any of them, it seems that it's late in the game, and maybe it's not, but it's just like, it's a little weird. I don't think, like, weird, like that. You remember last year when Chris Jones didn't show up to something and we were like, well, that's odd. Even at, like, wonder why you do that. And that was the first indication, like, and it was the voluntary, work or whatever that just happened last week. And it was like, that's strange. I think there may be a problem here. And I'm not saying there's a problem with Dickinson. I'm just saying it's strange now to be this late in the game on something like that. There is no benefit to the University of Kansas for Hunter Dickinson to have not made any sort of decision yet, whether that's to say you're going to test the draft. To say nothing benefits Kansas in no way. It doesn't benefit Bill Self on the, as he's going out and trying to convince players to come in. It doesn't benefit those players to wonder how much NIL money there is because they think that Hunter Dickinson's going to get this much. It doesn't help the coaches, obviously, to not have it finalized, to know exactly what they have to work with. Like, there's no real there's none that I can think of to benefit Kansas in a delayed decision like this. So what is the benefit? I mean, I don't see Hunter Dickinson anywhere on any draft prospect listing, like anywhere. So we know that he's got a ton of money on the table in NIL. I just don't understand the benefit of continuing to drag this out. And the attention part of it's not good enough. That's not a good enough reason. And that's why,
well, I think that whether or not it's a good enough reason, I think that's the reason. Because if you were to look at a bunch of different draft boards, and he's not there, or he's nowhere near where he should be, then at that point, okay, maybe he's gathering more feedback, but what's the alternative? Okay. He goes back to Kansas. If he was like not wanting to play at Kansas and he wasn't on the draft boards, then he would have entered the portal already to go find another school.
No, I don't think he's going to enter the portal. I just don't know what's happening. I don't know why. Either say I'm talking to the NBA. If you're going to go like talk to the NBA people,
it's very simple.
Then just go declare for the draft, because you can always pull.
You're a WWE guy, and you said it yourself. He's waiting for that final pop, that final main event pop. He's waiting for the guy.
It just doesn't. That doesn't help his team, though. Is my point. That doesn't.
It doesn't affect the team at all. It's not a negative impact for the. How does him waiting till the very end, to be able to like be the final piece of the puzzle for Kansas? How does that impact the Jayhawks at all? It doesn't.
Well, and maybe it's a stretch, but just in the sense that you're out there trying to say to somebody, we've got the best roster in America, just to have them be like, well, what about Dickinson? Is he coming back? And maybe Bill Self is able to say, listen, or maybe Hunter Dickinson can tell him that himself. Like, hey man, I'm coming back. Like I'm coming back. It's silly. I think he's coming back too. And I don't care if he wants the attention. I just don't want it to take away anything from what else is happening. And it probably isn't. It's just strange to me that we still don't have that one. If he is the final piece, like they're to the point where they can have the final piece now. I mean, I don't know what else they're chasing in the portal. Maybe something still, but I just need to know, and it's my impatience, and you know this about me. I just need to know that they've got a center. That's it. Like for me, at the foundation of it all, I need to know that they've got a center on the roster. So I need to know if it's Dickinson or somebody else, because that is the final piece to them being a favorite again next year. I need to know that they've got that position filled, because no, we don't want KJ Adams playing that position, right? Like we've gone down that road before. We want Hunter Dickinson or somebody else, and letting KJ Adams do something different. I don't know. It's just strange to me that we don't have that decision. Like that's been the most obvious of all the decisions through this whole process. We've thought he was coming back, and we're just waiting. So you've got us. You've got coming back. You've got us captured. We're okay.
I think
it's
he's okay.
coming back too.
I don't have a whole. Like I said, I don't have a lot of concern about it
though. It's just a little strange. K-State, Wichita State, we're still waiting. And decisions like that might affect them, because they're trying to figure out, who's left, and some of these players want to know this whole process. I mean, can you even imagine like all the intricacies of not being Kansas, right? Kansas can kind of just go attack and find who they want. They're a rarity through the portal process. Bill Self is, the Dodgers here. Like they can kind of go identify who they want and put it together that way. When you think about other schools, K-State's not there. They're in position to get great players, but not as quickly, because some of the players maybe that they're going after are making sure that they're not going to land in one of these other places. And you have to let all of that drag itself out to some degree. That's got to be maddening. And then you've got, Wichita State, who's even got to wait longer, right, to see where guys go and who doesn't get a guy they were going after. And maybe a player Wichita State's on needs to wait to see if somebody with maybe more NIL money than, they didn't get this guy, or they come into the table now with more, and which will happen. It's going to happen. So like the whole different like dynamic of it is really fascinating. And I'm ready to see a little movement for the Shockers as well. K-State, I think K-State's in pretty good position right now. I do think they've got a big splash still in them. We've talked about that. But it's not there yet, and we all wait impatiently, if you're me. All right, let's come back. Let's talk a little baseball. We'll talk that Royals-Orioles series. Anything concerning there? Look, it's a good team, right? I get it. They're they're 3 games back of the Guardians. I don't think it's too early to start peeking in at the division, seeing what else is there. But I also think it's important to point out, Tommy, that a lot of their wins have come against one particular bad team. So should we have any reason to pause? We'll discuss it next on Sports Daily.
.97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Before the puck drops, BetMGM is dropping bet and get tokens into the accounts of customers in Kansas.
All right, welcome back in, everybody, to Sports Daily. Jacob Albracht here, Tommy Castor, Jad Chambers producing for us. Royals dropped 2 of 3 to the Orioles. I think it's fine. Starting pitching, not quite as good there. I do think, though, Tommy, it's worth at least paying attention to the fact that the Royals right now are 13-9, which is great. Like, you know, we're happy about that out of the gates. They have 6 of those 13 wins have come against the White Sox. And I don't think it's unfair to pay attention to that, right? You know, it doesn't, like, you got to win those games, and we've talked about that. You have to win those. But they lost the opening series of the season to the Twins. They then lost the next series to the Orioles. They did sweep the Astros, right, who is right now one of the worst teams in baseball. And then they lost. So they have series losses to the Twins, the Orioles, the Mets, and they just sort of have beaten up on the White Sox and the Astros, who are reeling right now. I think it's worth paying attention to that. And I'm still optimistic, but I do think we need to pay attention to the fact that most of their wins, 9 in fact, 9 of their 13 have come against the 2 worst teams right now in the American League.
I don't know. On a scale of 1 to 10, I think my concern level is a 2, maybe, or a 3. I watched the series, and I especially watched the game on Saturday. And I want to focus on that. I mean, they obviously won Friday night. They won the opener. That was great. Yesterday's game we can get into, but Saturday was the one that I really want to pay attention to because they lost the game, but the Royals were down 7-0 early in the game. Cole Reagans did not have a good outing.
He got rocked.
He got chased out really early, and the Royals came back. Now, they didn't win the game, but those are games that in years past, the Kansas City Royals have rolled over and just been like, you know what? It's 7-0. We're done. We're out. Let's pack it in. Let's call it a night. Now, that's not the way that this Royals team responded. Did they have enough firepower to win the game? No. But they were able to battle back, and they were able to get themselves in a position to where they threatened to get back into it. And that's what I want to see from this team. I want to see a team with fight and a team with heart. That's what they have. So, yes, I understand everything that you are saying. I understand that the finale, the rubber match yesterday, wasn't a good outing offensively or really even from a pitching perspective for Seth Lugo. He didn't have a great game yesterday either. I recognize all of that. I understand all of that. But my level of concern right now is still relatively low just because of what I saw from them on Saturday.
They get Toronto for 4 at home. Then they go to Detroit for 3 more on the road. Then it's on back up to Canada for another 3. Then the Rangers, the Brewers. Between now and May 8th, they will face all teams above 500. We're going to know by May 8th. Mark that date down on your calendar because we're going to know at that point. 4 or 5 straight series that I just rattled off. It will be 4 straight series, really, and then 5 Milwaukee. Yeah, in Milwaukee. So 5 straight series between now and May 8th against teams that are all above 500, are all good. We're going to know very quickly, I think, whether the Royals are going to be able to hang in this thing because they also have to be able to beat those teams. It is important that while the Astros are down, you kick them. It is important that while you get your games against the White Sox, you take advantage of that. That's also a critical piece of trying to get into the playoffs is beating bad teams, but you have to be able to beat some of the good ones. And right now they're losing all these series to good teams. They're about to play 5 in a row that are great. Let's see what they do. And I think it's good for them either way, right? Like it's good for them to get tested this way now because it's going to help them know what they need if they are in the mix later. Like, how do we fare against these teams? How close are we? It's one thing to pitch really well when you're facing the White Sox, but when you come up against the Orioles, and those are home games too, and you get, Lugo wasn't quite as sharp. He wasn't like, Cole
he had a
Reagan's
bad inning.
bad
He had a really bad
inning where he gave up
back-to-back home runs.
He almost gave up 3 home
Almost
runs.
gave up 3. Yeah.
But so, you get Singer tonight against a pitcher from Toronto that has been kind of on fire in Kikuchi, who's, shown at times over his career that he can be pretty electric when he's on, strikes out a ton of guys. Then you get Waka against Gossman, who hasn't been good yet this year, but traditionally is one of the better pitchers in the league. And then you're on the back end of your rotation now, and then you go to Marsh. So I don't know, man. I think it's worth paying attention to. I'm not trying to like scale it to say I'm out of control worried right now. I do want to be terribly optimistic with this team because I think we all deserve that. I just want to also be realistic in how good they are. And look, if they win 80 games and it's not, then that's great. That's still a good year. But there have been signs for us to get like way overexcited, and we should not do that in baseball anyway.
No. But look, I think that there is a way to be realistic, without being doomsday. And that's not, I mean, this team is by all accounts objectively better than they were a year ago, especially in the first half of the season a year ago. But let's call a spade, even in the moments where we've been excited or anybody's been excited about the way this season has started for the Royals. I at least have never looked at them as world beaters. I'm not sure anybody has really looked at them as world beaters.
But playoff, I mean, it's kind of baseball. All you're trying to do is make the playoffs, right? Like that's all you're trying to do.
Yeah, you are. And with the way that, again, the AL Central is playing out, I mean, I still think that they're in a good position, to be able to do that. Now, I do think that, I was positive about the way that they fought back on Saturday, even though they didn't get the win. I think that you can turn the page to yesterday's game. And, if I do have a level of concern, it's kind of at that 2 or 3 range right now. It's because of the lack of offense yesterday. Cole Irvin pitched a great game for the Orioles, but they weren't able to get anything going offensively in the rubber match yesterday. My concern, I said it's at a 2 or a 3, could easily get up to a 4 or 5 if during this home series against Toronto, if the bats are not able to come alive. That's going to be an issue. And then at that point, okay, we can reassess that. I'm still not, I'm not overly concerned because they are still significantly better and playing better baseball than what they were a year ago.
There's no question that they're better than they were a year ago. Their pitching is going to be better than it was a year ago. I'm wanting to try to stack them up is all. How do they stack up against their peers, against the league, against everything else? One thing is clear, and this isn't a joke. This is 100% real. The Royals are nowhere near the worst team in the American League. That's a positive step for the franchise because for too many years now they have been, right? You penciled them in. They're the A's or the White Sox. Like they're not that. That's step one, and that's a great flipping step to make. Don't misunderstand. Now, step 2 is, are they middle of the road? Are they playoff good? Maybe. I think those are still very much in play. But they're going to have a tough road right now to get there. And,
the other thing you have to keep in mind
against the teams you would put in that category, they have not fared very well.
You have to keep in mind that, of course, the schedule has been weak for them to start off the series, but they've done for the most part what we've wanted them to see against those weaker opponents like the White Sox. And even with that weak schedule, and I understand that this number is going to be skewed based on the strength of schedule, they've got the second best run differential in Major League Baseball right now behind Cleveland. So it's not even just that they're winning the games that they should. It's that the games that they are winning, they're winning by larger margins. The games that they are losing, for the most part, they're losing by smaller margins. That run differential, is second best in the league. It's better. It's a better differential than the team, which is the Atlanta Braves, who have the best record in baseball. So yes, their strength of schedule is weak. We all know that. I understand where you're coming from and saying by the time May 8th rolls around, we'll have a better idea of exactly what this team is and what they are not. But I do have a level of appreciation for what they've been able to do so far this season, weak schedule or not, because they play. They played bad teams last year too and lost to them. So, that's where I think that you've got to be able to, have that context around it.
I don't want to downplay those wins at all. That's not what I'm trying to do. I think those wins are critical. You have to win those games. I'm just trying to be realistic with more than half of their wins have come against really bad teams. And we're early. We wouldn't do this if it wasn't so early in the schedule. Cleveland's played 7 against Oakland, right? And Oakland's probably not as bad yet as we thought they'd be, but they're not very good. And those things are important to pay attention to now, just in the sense of like big picture, where could they stack up? I don't think that the Royals are going to end up with, what are they at right now? The third best run differential in baseball. Like, I don't think that's holding true. It's a great thing to have. It's one of the most important things, big picture, to have. But where can they ultimately land? Is it 80 wins, which won't be enough to reach the playoffs, but would still be a season I think everybody would be really excited for? Do they just go over the Vegas number, which I think was at 73.5? Can they get to that 74? I think that would also be still a good season if they can get there based on a year ago. I just don't want to. I guess what I don't want to happen is see the start that they were able to get out to, and then by May 8th, if all of a sudden they're under 500 or whatever it is, then feel like they're falling apart, versus it just sort of being more of the reality of what it is. if they're, if things go sideways here on May 8th and it's not, they're not winning at the same clip they were early, I guess I just don't want it to be like panic time, but maybe more reality time of like, okay, that was a great start. Maybe a little bit of a reality check here. Maybe we refocus, on what we're really paying attention to, and not be disappointed by May 8th if they have a really rough couple of weeks coming up, because it is going to be a brutal schedule coming up over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that if they can hang around that 500 mark over the next couple of
that
weeks,
would be a huge win.
That'd be great. And that would even mean that over the next couple of weeks that they lose more games than they win, but because they were able to get out in front early on in the season and take advantage of the weaker part of their schedule. But I also think that you can look to the past and actually most recently last season, you take away 2020 COVID shortened season, 2023 was the very first time that you had two playoff teams make the playoffs with negative run differentials. Okay. So like it's happened, right? That happened with the Marlins last year and the Diamondbacks last year, who ultimately made the World Series. They both had negative run differentials. That hadn't happened before in a full season where two playoff teams had negative run differentials. The Royals are not only positive in their run differential, but they're far, far positive. So again, even if they can get out of the next couple of weeks relatively unscathed, and I would imagine that run differential will drop over the next couple of weeks, you would think, with the schedule that they're going to be facing. I think even then you can still look at everything and say they're still in position. Now, I think that the worst possible thing, obviously, I mean, this is a Captain Obvious type thing. Worst possible thing is that they just get, they go on a terrible like losing streak in the next couple of weeks. I don't think that's good. And I'll point back to the game on Saturday against the Orioles where, they lost the game, but they showed fight. They showed resolve, that they really were able to at least get themselves back into the game. That's what this Royals team was missing and has been missing, not only last year, but for the last several years. So I don't think that there's going to be, in my opinion, a stretch of games, even against high quality opponents over the next couple of weeks, where we just see them fold up, right? Like maybe we would have saw Royals teams in the past do. That does give me some optimism.
It's been the reality of their last few Aprils.
That gives me some optimism that even though the next couple of weeks might be kind of brutal for them, I think it's manageable. And I think that that's ultimately what we'll be able to see from them when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I do too. I look, if they make it out of this stretch at 500, if they're 500 over the next 4 or 5 series, I'm going to be at the lead of the charge to this team is pretty good. And I think they are pretty good. How good? We'll find out. I just like the scheduling thing has been sticking with me a little bit. Like as we've seen the Astros now really continue to struggle, knowing that they've played 10 games against, as of right now, some really bad teams. Just worth paying attention to. The Royals get back into action tonight. Let's see if they can get it done. Toronto's good. We know that. And they'll start that 4-game series, and you'll hear it on KFH tonight. Pregame coverage begins at 6:30. We appreciate Prairie Fire Coffee for fueling us up here this morning. Mornings at KFH. The staff always enjoys a great cup of coffee from Prairie Fire Coffee. We're going to come back. More Sports Daily right after this.
97.5 and 1240 KFH. Over.
No, I haven't got all day.
869-1240.
Time to get busy.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily. This portion of the program brought to you by Crestview Country Club, where I will soon be paying off a little bit of a debt to Tommy Castor. We had a little,
Yes, you will.
we had a little scratch on the Rangers Braves series here, which we took it last night. I'm look, losing 2 out of 3 to Atlanta, and Atlanta with your starting rotation kind of limping by is not big picture very concerning, but it still stings. And you don't like losing any. They got one last night, thankfully. But yeah, I lose the series. I lose the bet, which, means the next time we get out and play golf, beers are on me, which is fine. Whatever. Won't be bitter about it.
I mean, knowing how frequently you play golf, we're probably looking at 3 or 4 years from now, you'll finally pay off this debt.
Yep. We're trending that direction. Yes. I certainly will not be playing golf in bad weather. That's the thing for me. That's what also makes it hard. Like, I love golf. If I played all the time, I'd be fine playing in bad weather. But in the if I'm lucky, I'll play 36 holes of golf this year. The weather better be nice. It better be a nice day to be out there. There are a lot of things that will decide it. The good news is we've got Crestview available to us, and we will just be able to pick that whenever we want. 2 courses, don't care which one. For me, doesn't matter. Like a lot of people prefer when I'm like, guys, it's not going to affect my score. Like whatever course we play, it doesn't matter what it is. We can go play mini golf. It's not going to matter for my score.
Yeah, I had it on my calendar to play on Saturday. I was going to go and play golf Saturday
It
morning.
was chilly.
And I stepped outside. The tee time was, I think, at like 9:30 Saturday morning. I stepped outside and I'm like, nope. Like I'll play golf when the weather's not great because I enjoy it so much. I played a couple of weeks ago and the wind was whipping like 50 miles an hour. And I still played because I love playing golf.
Right.
But when you feel like you've got to bundle up, and you're wearing like winter gloves and a stocking cap and you've got to go fill your thermos with hot coffee. Like, I'd rather maybe just sit inside and look out the window instead of actually being outside.
Yeah, it's so our Saturday was pretty crazy. We had, and a lot of it was spent outside. We had soccer that we braved for that, which was okay, but cold. Then we went up to the wind surge game, which was great. Cold. By the way, chili buns. That was the first time there was chili buns night, right? The surge on, was it Friday, Saturday, Sunday did their chili buns thing, which was really, just a really good idea. But I had chili buns. I had chili and cinnamon roll. First time I've had the combo. And it was really good. Like that is a good, I get it, Midwest folks. Like that's not something anybody else has ever heard of, by the way. But I've learned it's something that not really even everybody that grew up here has ever even heard of. But the people that are big proponents of it are big proponents of it. And so I have it for the first time. It was delicious. Most of it was separated, Tommy, but there was a little chili that spilled over the cup and onto the cinnamon roll.
Did you still eat it?
Still delicious. Yes. Did I still eat? No.
Man.
Oh, I'm going to throw away this cinnamon roll. No, of course I still ate it.
Well, you eat around it. And then if there's that little piece, that's fine. I'll sacrifice that little piece.
No way.
I love chili and I love cinnamon rolls. I mean, I will say chili is, not a meal, but I still like chili. I
what
like
about
having
chili
a bowl
with
of
a
chili.
cinnamon roll? Is that a meal?
I could consider, I mean, I grew up having that. I mean, I think that's fine. School lunches a lot when I was a kid, you'd have a bowl of chili and then you'd have a cinnamon roll. That's fine. I mean, like I was totally fine with it. Love cinnamon rolls. I like chili. It's all good. I'm not going to put my cinnamon roll in the chili. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that it was better when they touched. It was fine when they touched. I mean, I'm glad I was able to decipher that. I mean, I had this, I have this conversation. Two of my kids are super picky and one will eat anything, like anything. I'm like, you want to try this? She's like, yep, let's try it. And so they all, by the way, all three of them, because they were all there, loved the chili and loved the cinnamon roll. So that was good. They get ripped off. They've never had that at school, I don't think. And you're not the first person that has said and brought back an experience from growing up. Like my kids, I don't believe have ever had that option at school.
It was a very popular school lunch when I was a kid growing up here. Had a bowl of chili and a cinnamon roll. And, there were other things too. You had your carton of milk and you had your vegetable or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, more often than not, it was chili and cinnamon rolls. Yeah, my carrot, my corn, alongside it. Yeah.
It was good. So I'm in. Team chili cinnamon roll, I'm in. All right, we'll come back. Let's talk some NFL draft. News, notes. There's a lot of posturing right now, a lot of rumors thrown out there about the draft. We'll look at it holistically. We'll look at it from the Chiefs' perspective. That's all coming on Sports Daily.
Minor League Baseball yesterday afternoon at Riverfront Stadium. The Wichita Wind Surge closing out a homestand, hosting Tulsa. Good day for the Surge. A 6-2 win for a split of the six-game series at home. Wichita broke it open with 4 runs in the bottom of the 4th inning for back-to-back wins. Center fielder Emmanuel Rodriguez from Cuba. As he came up big with a run-scoring double, he leads all of AA in extra base hits. And the designated hitter, Andrew Cressetti, with a 3-run home run. 4,300 fans were on hand for this one yesterday. And coming out of the bullpen, John Stankiewicz. This season has a 1.08 earned run average with 2 scoreless innings there. Wichita is an off day today, heading out for 2 weeks on the road. In college men's golf, the American Championship finishing up in Tampa yesterday. Shocker men finishing in 3rd place in the American Golf Tournament. And junior Michael Winslow of the Shockers finished overall in 4th place. I'm Ted, the Sports Head.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Sports Daily, hour number 2. We got giveaways coming. We'll give away some HTO later this hour. Glad to be here with you. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. By the way, Royals baseball, we talked a little bit about that in the first hour. It's on KFH and available for you for free on the Odyssey app. Tune into KFH for Royals in Chicago. They are facing Toronto tonight at 6:30. You can simply download the Odyssey app and search for KFH. All right, Tommy, let's talk about the NFL draft here. We're counting down the days now. Thursday, round 1. I'm seeing during the break here that NFL.com's Daniel Jeremiah put out his latest prospect rankings. We've been looking at prospect rankings all the way through, trying to guess at how this will go. The Patriots in the news a lot this weekend, saying they're open for business, but I think it was CBS Sports reporting that it's still likely they're taking quarterback at 3. Them being open for business is very interesting, though. This is going to be wild. I'm telling you, it's going to be wild, and I think it's going to be wild for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are getting aggressive. I think I've come down to this, Tommy. I'll bet you this: the Chiefs aren't picking at 32. How about that? The Chiefs will not make their pick at 32. They will make a pick before. I'll take it a step further. They will make a pick before pick 32.
Well, so I think you have to take it even a step further than that. If they're going to trade up, what are they trading up for? And I know we talked offensive line, offensive tackle specifically. Is that what they're trading up for? You think they're going to try to go after and get a left tackle?
I think so. Yeah, and that's what I've thought from the beginning. I think their offseason moves have told us that. I think the one thing that obviously derailed that slightly, maybe, is the Rashee Rice situation, which didn't see coming. But I've thought all along that's what they were going to do. I think that's why they have not brought in another left tackle. I think at some point in time, they have probably identified at least one of these guys as a player that they really like. And that has dictated a lot of what they've done in this offseason. And so I just don't think the Rashee Rice situation needs to derail that directly. And we'll see them react to that. That's the thing too, Tommy. Would you have any doubt if the Rashee Rice situation doesn't happen, right? And I know it did, but hypothetically speaking, if it doesn't happen and the room is what it is with Rice and Tony and Moore, now add Hollywood Brown with Kelsey, left tackle it's staring at us in the face, right? It just is. I don't think that's what they're going to, I don't think letting Snead go and attacking corner this early, that doesn't feel like it's something that they'll do. It's always felt like when they haven't brought in anybody else that this is what their plan has been. And I get it. The Rashee Rice situation complicates that, but I just think there are a lot of options to address that particular situation. And I think they can stick to the plan, which I do think has been left tackle all along.
I think that they will attack cornerback. I just don't think that they're going to attack later in the first round. I think that they'll maybe use a mid-round, like a day 2 draft pick or something on a cornerback that they can develop. I think they like the pieces. Obviously they don't have Snead anymore, but I think they like the remaining pieces that they've got in that secondary where they don't really have to panic and try to grab somebody in the first round to play in the secondary. Yeah. If the Rashee Rice situation hadn't happened, then I don't think there would be conversation as much about taking a wide receiver in the first round. And all along, I've not been against a left tackle in the first round, but I've also wanted a contingency plan. I've also wanted a stopgap or some kind of bridge because, even if they go and get, let's say they trade up in, into the top 15 or even the top 10 to get one of the left tackles that's projected somewhere around there, then that's great. And maybe that guy is the long-term franchise left tackle. I don't know if I want to throw him out there as a rookie. I've said that all along, and whether it's Wanya Morris and they feel comfortable with that, but do you really feel comfortable having Wanya Morris be your starter, even if you've got
you're
a
only
first
planning
round
on
pick,
that being for a game or two. Like you don't,
Yeah.
if you're moving up in the first to draft a left tackle, you're planning on that guy being your starter, whether that's
Right.
in week 3 or week 1. So there have been a lot of most of the prospect lists you'll look at, not necessarily mock drafts, right? But prospect rankings have 5 left tackles in the first 18-ish is about what it is. I would say that I think that the Chiefs probably have their player identified, or maybe it's 2. It would be the best news would be if they identify several and they like several because they can be a little less aggressive at that point. But and we'll never know that, right? We'll never know how many of these guys until after the draft, how many of these guys they like and could see being that guy. But I do think there are a couple of things that benefit this plan for the Chiefs. All the quarterbacks, all the wide receivers. There's tons of them. That's going to suppress and push left tackles down the board. That's an advantage for the Chiefs for sure. I also think, Tommy, that the Chiefs like to zig when others are zagging. And there's a lot of talk right now around the NFL, like the analytics, the history. There is a big perception that in the long term, trading down benefits your franchise in a great deal, right? So the trends, we know how trendy this league is. We know how those things tend to play themselves out. I would say that the Chiefs have a good history of being ahead of the trends, right? They were ahead on the way defenses were playing these quarterbacks. They got to that a year earlier. They do have a good track record in recent years of doing it, right? The zig when others zag thing. So if the trend right now, and teams know this because they all have the same data, they all have the same analytics, right? They all know this, that over the long term, you're seeing more benefit to trading down. Those teams see a greater benefit. If you know that and you're the Chiefs, and teams have that in their heads now, all the more reason to trade up if you're going to try and buck those trends and stay out ahead, right? If everybody's wanting to trade down, that makes it easier for you to trade up, right? And if they have that player that they like, and I think that they do, then that's going to maybe make it cost a little less to trade up. Because it's just like if everybody wanted to trade up, right? You've got all the power. Well, if everybody wants to trade down and you want to trade it, now you've got all the negotiating power. Well, what is it going to cost me to move to X, Y, or Z? And again, it depends on which player they like, because there are some of these tackles as high as 5 or 6 and some as low as 18. They're all about in that range. So I think it's very reasonable to think the Chiefs will say, we like this player. What do we need to give up? Where do we need to land to get him? What's our backup plan if somebody else likes him? Because they can't predict that either, right? If somebody else loves that player, what's our backup plan? But I'll stick to it. I don't think they stay at 32. I think they pick before 32. I'll make that my proclamation. And then I'm pretty sure they're going to take a left tackle with whatever it is they move up to.
I think the only caution that I would have in that prediction is that, and you admitted it yourself, and you're spot on when you say this, that there are a lot of quarterbacks and there are a lot of wide receivers that are projected to be high draft picks, and that teams, are going to want to go and grab, or at least be tempted to go and do that, which will push those offensive tackles. Unless there is one offensive tackle that the Chiefs are just locked in on, and that could very well be that at that point, yeah, they probably trade up and the asking price isn't quite as high, so they can go and get their guy. But if that's not the case, and if they just know they want a left tackle and there are a couple or 3 or 4 or however many that are into it and that like they really like all of them, I think you could maybe stand pat at 32 and be able to get a left tackle that you really like. I think there might be
maybe if they like somebody further down the board, sure. Which, by the way, they do have a history of that. Felix Anudike-Uzomah last year, they overdrafted him because they liked him. If they like a left tackle that's not in that list, then they would. That would be totally
I'm sure
fine.
that they're gonna. I mean, the guy from Notre Dame, that's projected. I think, in the top 5, or he's at least, rated out as one of the top 5 one of the top 5 prospects. If they really, really, really like him and they're like, okay, he is a guy that's going to be a difference maker for us long-term. Okay. Then you try to find a way to trade up and get a guy like that. But if they all are relatively equal as far as the Chiefs are scouting them, then I don't know if you necessarily need to give anything up, because then
you're not going to get him at 32.
Choices. You're not going to
get him
those
32. 5. No. I mean, those 5 are usually mocking inside the top 20, 24 or so.
But you just said yourself that there are so many quarterbacks and wide receivers that could potentially push.
No, I'm saying now in
those offensive.
No, I'm saying in mocks. So in rankings, what I've found, and I've looked at like NFL, CBS, and ESPN. In the rankings, you've got essentially those 5 inside the top 18 or so. But in the mocks, I mean, they're pushed down maybe 6. So you're still only looking at like 24, 25, 26. I don't think, I mean, that would be a great, but the other thing is too, there's no chance that the Chiefs evaluate those 5 guys the same way. They like one of them more than the others, for sure.
But
Maybe they
could like 3 of them or 4 of
Correct.
them.
And we don't know that. They could also like somebody that's not in that grouping. And in that scenario, yeah, they'd be perfectly happy taking that guy at 32, right? That usually doesn't happen at left tackle, though, at that position. At that position, it's usually pretty straightforward. So that's the part of this that's always hard for me with the draft is, yeah, we can do all that. The Chiefs don't care how Daniel Jeremiah or Mel Kiper or any of those people have they do their own, they've got their own boards and they have their own players identified. And in recent years, they've got a really good history of doing that. We'll see what happens with Felix Anudike-Uzomah. But other than that, they've overdrafted a lot of players that people are like, oh, it's too early. And they just typically it works great for them. I don't think
Clyde
it matters.
At 32 as a running back, probably overdrafted for sure, because Patrick Mahomes wanted him.
But they'll do it, right? I will say, though, and I've said this from the beginning, now is the time that if they do identify one of these players to be that dude, there isn't anything that's too much to go get him, right? Because if Patrick Mahomes is the most important, and clearly he is, that you can make a case that either, the defender most directly disruptive to him, which is an edge rusher, would become the second most important position, right? If I'm just in general terms in the NFL. But the reality is it's probably the person who protects him and keeps him on the field, who protects him the most to help keep him on the field. And that's your left tackle. And they've just been, they've been trying and failing to some degree. Not that they haven't had a good job done at the position. They have, but it's not what they've wanted. They've been trying for a while. They can't figure it out. So if they view that dude as being there, this is the time to do it, because they really, through 3 or 4 good drafts, have the depth that they can afford to do it, I think, one time, right? You don't want to do it all the time, obviously. But if there's a time to do it in a draft class like this, with the board looking the way most people think it sort of looks, then yeah, this is the year to do something like that. Only matters if they like the player, though, and that's what makes it really unpredictable. That's what makes it fun. Look at that, even outside of the Chiefs, look at the top of the draft. It's going to be exciting because we don't know how teams rank these quarterbacks, right? We have no idea. It's not a consensus after Caleb Williams at all. Daniel Jeremiah has Drake May over Jaden Daniels. For most of the season, it was believed that it was going to be Drake May, right? And then all of a sudden, Jaden Daniels has the season he has. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion at the top of the draft. I think Caleb Williams is, but outside of Caleb Williams, that's what makes the draft fun, right? Is we don't know how people view these players. Who thought that Mitch Trubisky would be viewed the way that he was, or whatever it is? There's 1,000 examples of it. Let's talk about the news of the weekend with the Patriots, that they may be open for business. This doesn't pertain to the Chiefs. Chiefs don't care about that unless they were trying to get to the business of like Marvin Harrison Jr. or something, which would be an interesting concept. But what do you make of that? Do you think, because the Patriots don't really need to come out and publicly say that unless they really are, right? It's not like we're hearing the Commanders say, oh, yeah, we're open for business, or the Bears say, well, we're always willing to trade that pick. Like the Patriots are doing that because they want to get everybody's best offer. I don't know what that means. It makes me wonder of Daniels, I guess, McCarthy, and May. Do they like one of those guys and only one? And then if that guy's not there, they're willing to trade down. Do they not like two of them? It's an interest. I don't know what to make of that, other than where there's smoke, there's fire, and they don't put that out there unless they want to get offers on that pick. At least have them, loaded up and ready to roll.
I think that I think that they're going to ultimately stay put at 3, and I think that they're going to take a quarterback. Because if you look at who they've got on their roster at quarterback, you've got Jacoby Brissett and you've got Bailey Zappi. Those are your quarterbacks. So could they ride with Jacoby Brissett? Sure. I mean, he's done that before, and it'd be average at best. At best, probably average. They could do that, but I think that it's going to have to take some kind of wild and crazy offer from a team for the Patriots to move away from number 3. Now, if they do that, if a team gives them a bounty, of picks or whatever that return is that they feel comfortable moving away from that, sure. Okay, you could probably ride with Brissett for this coming season, but I think it's going to have to take a lot for the Patriots to want to do that.
The fatal flaw in the NFL is to just take a quarterback to take a quarterback, right? Because you need a quarterback to just take a quarterback. You can do that with other positions. You can't do that with quarterback, because in the NFL, quarterbacks are either good enough or they're not good enough. I've used the example 1,000 times. Basically, you have to have a Hall of Fame quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I mean, it's pretty close to that edict, right? It's only happened 3 or 4 times in the last 30 years that a guy who's not headed to Canton or already in Canton has won a Super Bowl. So to sit there, if you don't love the player at that position and that position only, you can never give in to the peer pressure. If that guy if you don't project him out that way, why are you wasting your time, right? If you're lukewarm on Drake May and you're like, I just like, he's okay, but he's not. At that point, you roll with who you've got, and then maybe you're in a position to take the best of the class the next year. You just like, it's not worth the time. It's not worth the effort. Why waste your time? If you don't think a player is going to be that good, you're wasting your time to just take them because you need a quarterback. Teams don't do that at any other position, right? Almost ever would a team, and they draft based on need partially, but we see NFL teams do this with quarterback, where they'll almost just like try to justify it, even if they don't really like the player. They're not doing that in other spots, right? Like it's weird and it's the most important place. It's the most important position. It doesn't matter. I mean, if they're so desperate, they already made a shift and change in the front office and the coaching staff. All those changes are already in place. The last thing that group, the coach, that general manager, whatever, would want to do is take a quarterback that they don't think is going to win a ton of games because they're going to get fired. You're far better off just rolling with what you've got. And then look, when you come out of the draft, you say, we just did not evaluate these players at that pick. We think that it would have been, it wasn't the right decision. So we moved on and we're going to keep attacking quarterback in other ways. As a fan, like I'd much rather see that than see my team take a player they don't really like. Like that doesn't make any sense. And so while I think everybody's always, doing their business and doing their due diligence, and you hear all those cliches, I think when a team comes out and tells you when they're in position to take a quarterback that they're open for business, it tells me that at least one of those guys they don't like, and they don't want to take that player there. And I think that's probably very real smoke. Now, they may get the guy they like all along anyway, but I don't think it makes sense anymore in the NFL for teams to just draft a quarterback because they need a quarterback and there happens to be one sitting there. You better love that player if you're going to draft a quarterback.
I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of both Gerard Mayo and Elliott Wolf with the Patriots. You are coming off of 20 plus years of Bill Belichick having control of the football operations of that franchise, not only as the head coach, but basically as the general manager as well, making all of those personnel decisions, handling the draft, putting together the roster, and then coaching the team. I mean, Belichick was the judge, jury, and executioner for all of that for more than 2 decades. This is the very first time since the 90s that there are other people that are in charge of this. And you've got a guy in Elliott Wolf that's been with the organization for a few years, but it's, his first time running a franchise as a GM. You've got a guy in Gerard Mayo that's been with the organization for a long time, played for the organization. Now he's the head coach, first time head coach. So I'm trying to put myself in their shoes as far as what the heck do we do with this third overall pick in the draft? And knowing all you have to do is look at Bill Belichick. He's tied to Tom Brady, and he always will be forever and ever and ever. In a lot of cases, I think that you could make the argument that whoever they pick at quarterback at number 3 is partially at least going to be tied to their legacies as the head coach and GM of the post-Bill Belichick era of Patriots football. And so it's absolutely a pressure-packed position. If I'm Elliott Wolf, I'm probably going to say the same thing that he said, that we're open for business. Why close the door on that when you don't have to? Why not hear what other teams are interested in? I might have, a couple of those quarterbacks as my number 1 guy that I know I'm going to get one of them. And there's a 99% chance I'm going to take him, and I'm going to be absolutely happy and content with that pick. But why close the door on hearing what other teams would be willing to do for that third overall pick? Might as well just hear them out. And I'd have to be completely blown away. But I don't think there's anything wrong with at least hearing that.
So right now, I would say this. The Bears obviously know who they want, right? They made that decision a long time ago. The Commanders know who they want, right? We've heard nothing out of Washington. We know they know who they want. They know they're not getting Caleb Williams. They know who they want. The Patriots say they're open for business. Makes me think that they do not like all 3 of the top 3. So let's say you're in that chair and you don't, and the 2 guys you do like are gone. Now you're at 3. Here's this quarterback you didn't evaluate very well. You don't like him. You don't think he's quarterback of the future. You're sitting there at 3. You taking him anyway? Because everybody knows you need a quarterback? I'm not, no chance. I'm either trading down and hoping somebody else does like that quarterback, or I'll just take Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik, whatever, whoever else you evaluate, and just be like, are we really going to look back historically? And if let's say Marvin Harrison Jr., who's just an unreal prospect, are you really going to look back in, 8-9 years and have regrets that you took that guy when you don't like now, if that other quarterback ends up being awesome, obviously you're gonna be kicking yourself. But you at minimum have to trust your own evaluations. And if you trust your own evaluations and you don't like the 3rd out of 3, don't take them. Don't take them.
Yeah, I also think that we could be having a conversation on Friday about how far Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors fell in the draft. Not because they aren't talented, but because it's such a deep wide receiver draft class that there might very well be a lot of teams. Like if I'm the Patriots, okay, I might not love 1 or 2 of the quarterbacks, and I know that Marvin Harrison is still there. So I could take Marvin Harrison at 3, or I could trade down.
You'd rather trade down.
I could trade down, get a bunch of things in return, and then still go get a wide receiver that is still rated pretty highly further down in the first round or even in the 2nd or 3rd round. That's just, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, we could very easily see Harrison and Neighbors taken in the top 10. But
you could see him taking 3-4.
I think there is a component of this where it wouldn't be shocking, all that shocking.
They would love to trade
if both of them fell.
But I'm saying if they don't get the offer they want and they love the play, let me ask it to you this way too. And I know we're heavy, Chad. Well, let's save this for after the break, actually. So I want to ask you a question about Marvin Harrison Jr. specifically. On the way out, let's give away some HTO. Free iced tea, more than 25 flavors. You can get a free iced tea at any of the Wichita locations in East or West or in Derby. You can also get a free reign coffee drink, one of each of those, iced tea and a coffee, on us here at Sports Daily. The coffee available in East Wichita or in Derby. Good luck, everybody. First caller to the IHOP hotline, which is open for you at 869-1240, will get that giveaway prize. We'll come back I'm going to ask about Marvin Harrison Jr. and the impact he potentially has. And if he's worth passing quarterback for. We'll ponder it next on Sports Daily.
Oh, okay, take it easy. We're going on the air.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
All right. Welcome back in, everybody. So we wondered just before, by the way, congratulations to Steve for winning the HTO iced tea and free ring coffee giveaway. So, Tommy, I'm wondering if we are undervaluing Marvin Harrison Jr. because he does seem like that kind of prospect. So what if I told you that Marvin Harrison Jr. could have the same sort of impact in the same timeline as Justin Jefferson? And before you say, well, that's a reach, remember that Jamar Chase set all the rookie records, and then Justin Jefferson set all the rookie records, and then Puka Nacua last year set all the rookie records. Like, it is not out of the question to think that rookie receivers can have that sort of impact. They're doing it almost every year. So if I told you Marvin Harrison Jr. would project out and have a similar first few seasons as Justin Jefferson, and was that kind of player, I don't think that's that much of a stretch. Knowing that, and let's say Drake May is the guy at 3, and I don't know, he projects to have a similar start to his career as who's been moderately successful. Daniel Jones. Ryan Tannehill at his best. You know what I mean? Like a good quarterback, a good NFL quarterback that's not winning Super Bowls, whatever. Which of those do you think is more important, big picture, to your franchise?
Well, I think that I would answer that question with another question. Justin Jefferson is incredible.
Yep.
Has he won a Super Bowl for the Vikings?
Exactly.
No. Puka Nacua was a revelation last year. Has he won a Super Bowl for the Rams? No. And, so I think that it goes
neither
back
have
to
those, but neither have those
right.
quarterbacks.
So I think it goes back to the question of the importance of having a franchise quarterback. And that would be where, if the Patriots don't like one of the quarterbacks or two of the quarterbacks or whatever, they don't feel confident that whether it's Drake May or JJ McCarthy or whoever will win them a Super Bowl. And I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is there. He can make you better for sure, but wouldn't it just be better to trade down and still get a good wide receiver?
Yeah.
If you don't feel, I'm
saying
that,
if you've got to make the pick. I'm saying if you've got to make the pick.
If you cannot trade away and you have to, okay, then fine. Take Marvin Harrison Jr. if you can't trade away, and get out of there and get a return on that, which obviously they'd be able to do. I just think that, as great as those wide receivers are, we talk all the time about how amazing Justin Jefferson is and all of that. He hasn't led him to a Super Bowl, hasn't led him to a championship. I do think you have to keep that in mind.
Amazing dynamic, right? That we know that you're not winning a Super Bowl almost certainly unless you have a great quarterback. But the opposite of that is also true. You're not winning a Super Bowl unless you have a great quarterback. So if you don't think the guy is going to be a great quarterback that you take, what do you do? Like, what do you do in those? Because it's not like it's different than when you take a quarterback later in the draft that ends up being great, right? That's a different thing than forcing yourself to take a quarterback you might not like as much early in the draft. I think you've got two totally different dynamics in play that way, right? Drew Brees later in the draft is not the same thing as Josh Rosen, who you're like, well, he's the next best quarterback. Let's just take him. You know what I mean? I think it's a totally different animal. And that's what, when I see the Patriots publicly saying they're open for business, it screams to me that they don't like one of these quarterbacks. And I think it's probably only one. They'd obviously not say which one that is. I'm sure they would like for one of them to fall. But they just, unless you really had interest in trading that pick, Because the reality is, Tommy, if you do like one of those quarterbacks, if you do think one of those quarterbacks could be, a Hall of Fame quarterback that could ultimately lead you to a Super Bowl, there ain't anything in a trade you'd accept. Like, you couldn't make me a good enough offer. It would be impossible. If you knew these things in advance, right? If you're drafting at the top and you had a chance to take a quarterback that's Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or, Josh Allen, whatever it is, you can't make me a good enough trade. I will not accept any trade. I will make that pick. But that's not the case, obviously. We don't get that hindsight. So if you're not thinking of this guy, if you're the Patriots, and let's say it's Drake May, and you're like, nah, I'm lukewarm on Drake May, I don't think you can take him. I think it'll kill you. You'll keep treading your tires and just spinning in the mud. Like, it's not worth it, because if you don't think it's going to work, just take the best player, especially when there are players like we have in this draft that people do think of that way, right? Like, we coming into this thing, it's not like Marvin Harrison Jr. is this all-world prospect. We all agree on that. The only reason there's, any doubt in that now is not because Marvin Harrison Jr. is any worse than we thought he'd be. It's that Malik Neighbors also appears to be that good. And so now it's like, okay, well, is it whatever? Either one of them look like they're that good. And some people have Rome Odunze up there. Let's go to the phone lines. The IOP hotline is open. Scott wants to chime in. Scott, welcome into Sports Daily. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good.
Good. I love the conversation. Definitely very interesting and intriguing. But I would almost like to throw out you're going to bring up like Daniel Jones, and I would even throw out there, what if Drake May is even? I mean, if it's about getting a Super Bowl, what if he's in comparison to? I mean, we could even say Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, who no doubt they're great
then you take him.
But
yeah, you take him. Then.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. But my thought was, like I said, I love the conversation, but neither one of those guys have got a ring on their finger either.
Right. But I think they both. I think Scott,
as long as number 15's out there for the Chiefs, that's definitely the road to go through.
That is a unique outlier to have that in the league right now. But I think if you just have to project it like, do we feel like Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are Hall of Fame quarterbacks? And I would tell you that their early trajectories would say, yes, they are. Yeah. They probably are. Jalen Hurts appears to be on that trajectory. Lamar Jackson appears to be on that trajectory. They won't be yet. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is for sure, no doubt. Of course, he's going to be a Hall of Fame. He would be if he retired tomorrow. But I think when we look at these other quarterbacks in the league, we still view them that way. It's more about, do you view, like, whether they're going to get through Mahomes or not, that's just kind of luck of the draw and bad timing, right? Nobody's getting through Mahomes right now. Yeah. But he's not winning the Super Bowl every year. I mean, Matt Stafford just won one in recent years. So it's, do you project him to be that good? And I don't. I'll tell you right now, I don't. I think the only quarterback in this class that projects that way. And again, I'm not a scout, so this is worth as much. My opinion on projecting these quarterbacks is worth as much as literally anybody who opens their mouth. But I would say no. I would say the only quarterback that I think is that way is Caleb Williams. I don't think these other two are.
Well, what do you think about Caleb Williams? And of course, who knows? It's all speculation.
We don't know. We're not scouts.
I just wonder, and maybe I'm way off the script, but when I hear him come out and say, "Oh, I want part ownership of a team or something," that if I were a team or a GM, I would worry about that kind of mentality drafting a guy that obviously the talent's there, but if you're coming out making statements like that, who knows what kind of character you have there.
Yeah, I think he's saying that because that's the elephant in the room of the next evolution of player contracts. I think that's going to happen. But I'd tell you this, Aaron Rodgers can't stop talking, and the Jets can't wait to get him back on the field, right? Like at some point you just got to let the talent, come through and do its thing. I appreciate the call, Scott. Thanks for calling in. You guys can always call in on that IOP hotline. It's an interesting point. We haven't talked about that, Tommy. Like, what do you and I think of these quarterbacks? I would tell you by my own criteria, the only quarterback of this group that I look at and I'm like, Yep, that could be a Hall of Fame. It's Caleb Williams. I don't think that of Jaden Daniels or of Drake May or J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix. Now, I think some of those guys are intriguing prospects, but just as far as like what we've seen out of the college game from the guys who typically make that sort of leap, to me, the only one that does is Caleb Williams.
I really like Jaden Daniels. He won the Heisman for a reason.
I do too.
I think that Jaden Daniels could project out to be, a really, really solid, if not great quarterback in the NFL. I think that a lot of people are sleeping on him. He's probably going to be a Commander. I can see Washington grabbing him at number 2, and then we're literally talking about McCarthy and May. It's basically those two guys.
And I did not watch enough May. I've never understood it with May. But like when I watch these guys, I mean, we see it all the time. Like I need to watch you and be like, holy cow. Like, this dude's awesome. I feel that way about Shedeur Sanders. I'll tell you that.
I actually think I might like Jaden Daniels better than Caleb Williams.
That's fine. Jaden Daniels is a little bit of an outlier because I really like Jaden Daniels too, especially the way the position's being played now. But I cannot escape thin-framed quarterbacks that run as much as he does and their durability concerns in the NFL. That would be a concern to me. But as far as I would be totally fine taking him at 2. Because he's so dang electric. So I'm good with that. I don't know that I see him like Hall of Fame, but the risk for me with him is injury. I don't see it out of the other guys. I do see it out of Caleb Williams, though. I think Caleb Williams is the guy that most looks like Joe Burrow did, for example, in college, or Trevor Lawrence, even though that hasn't really worked out for Trevor Lawrence to the ultimate degree yet. He still looks good. But you know what I mean? Like that guy where you're like, oh, yeah, that guy looks like a pro. That, to me, that's only Caleb Williams. I think Shedeur Sanders looks like that next year. I think when I watch him play football, I think that. Maybe the Patriots have, an inclination to look at something like that. I don't know. But it will be, again, all of this leads to this draft is going to be awesome on Thursday. It is going to be wild. I really think it's going to be wild. Still time for your calls. And our last full segment here, 869-1240 on that IHOP hotline. Albracht and Castor on Sports Daily coming right back.
KFH.
Seeing the Broncos are going real throwbacky with their uniforms back to the orange and blue. Why did that ever go away?
I don't know.
It's one of
I
the
don't
great
get it.
uniforms. It's one of the great uniforms. Like, they should just make that their all-the-time uniform.
Did you watch the video, the reveal video of their new uniforms? It was fine.
No.
I mean, I had no
Wait.
issue with it.
You mean they have something different than that throwback? Like, did they redo their uniforms?
Yeah, they released their entire new uniforms like an hour ago.
I didn't know they were changing. Okay.
That's
all
probably
right.
That's probably what you saw. Those are the new
No, I saw
primaries.
the throwback. I saw the throwback. Okay. I've got to find these new. Okay, so let me look at what I've got here.
I didn't see any throwbacks. I think you're looking at the primaries. I think
No. I saw the throw. Patrick Surtain put it. It was a Denver reporter that put it out. It was just the typical throwback. It was exactly what they used to be.
Like, they've got a new shade of orange, a new shade of navy, white. There's a white helmet in there.
Okay, so I'm looking at this. Is the helmet the same? I'm looking at the jerseys now. Did the helmet change at all?
They've got, I mean, because in the NFL, you can have an alternate helmet now. So there's
right. But their primary helmet, is their primary helmet staying with these uniforms I'm looking at?
I don't know. I know that there's a white helmet that's in there somewhere. I don't know which one is the primary, which one's the alternate.
So I like these jerseys are fine. I mean, it's
fine.
At least they're going to primarily wear the orange, which they should be doing.
You know, and like, look, they'll look fine when they lose 15 games this year. So that's cool. Like, at least you're going to look sharp when you're losing a bunch of games. That's fine.
Did you see the Lions?
I did. The black ones that they added in. Yeah, those are sharp.
Not just the black, but they sort of redid all of them. They just kind of cleaned them up a little bit. Those look good. They look real good. Yeah. That's good timing too for that organization. Like, as they enter this new era, clean that up a little bit. Those look dang good. I love uniform talk, by the way. I think most people do. The Chiefs are one of the teams, and they'll just keep gaining strength by the longer they hold out. The Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Packers. Do we have any more besides those? I think that's it. That just will not change, and they should love to. They should hold.
I mean, the
through.
Chiefs are one of them, and obviously now that you've got the opportunity to have an alternate helmet, there's a part of me I'd love to see an alternate Chiefs helmet. Like, I'd love to see a white helmet, maybe, or a black helmet.
Yeah. If you want to keep the same design and just mess with the red, white, and yellow a tiny bit, that I would accept that and be okay with it. Like, the Cowboys now have their Thanksgiving uniform or whatever.
Right.
Like, I'm okay with that. But in general terms, like, they don't change their uniform. Like, having your alternate or whatever's fine, but their uniform does not change. And the longer it goes, as teams continue to move around there, I think it adds to the coolness that you don't do that, right? That I off the top of my head, it's only those teams, the Packers, the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, who have stuck to their guns and just will not change them. And I think it adds, by the way, you've got some of the most popular franchises there, because I do think there is power in that staying power of keeping that and holding that true. The Niners went back to their originals. I don't think they'll change ever again because they made the mistake. I love it. I love that the Chiefs stick with it and won't change it and won't veer off their helmet or their color scheme or the general design of their uniforms. It's way outdated, but it's awesome. Why would you?
Yeah, I get it. I'm totally understand where you're coming from with that. I'm a big fan of, like, hey, tradition is great and I am on board with it, but you can have a little bit of fun, from time to time. And so I wouldn't be overly upset if there were maybe some updates.
Oh, you'd want to see a uniform change then, not just an alternate.
No, I think an alternate, like, because remember, like, when the NFL was trying to do that color rush, for a while, and it was the same. Red. It was the same Chiefs uniform as always, just all red or all white. Like, okay, what about an alternate where, they wear it once a year, where you've got, you add in some black, black helmet, or I don't know. I just think that there are some ways that
it's got to be red,
freshen it
yellow,
up.
or white. It's got to be red, yellow, or white if it's going to happen. And if they put a black one in there and had the exact same design of it, maybe okay. You know who else hasn't really changed? I forgot one. The Ravens. The Ravens have not altered anything since they've become into existence. Even the Colts.
They had the gold color rush. Remember the gold color rush?
Yeah, the color rush. Everybody was forced into that, but the Ravens have not gone from their original uniforms. The Colts cleaned up the original design, but they still tweaked it. Yeah, I'm a uniform traditionalist, though. Like, I don't like to see those changes a lot of the time. A team like the Broncos, they went away from their best uniform, so they can do whatever they want now. 869-1240. We'll come back. We'll tell you what's on the network today when we wrap up Sports Daily on this Monday.
Come and enjoy a free birthday boil at Hook and Reel. Valid only with a minimum of a 2-entree purchase, proof of ID, and also valid 3 days before and 3 days after birthday. Located in Town East Parking Lot, East Kellogg.
Get ready for an electrifying night of entertainment at the Crown Uptown Theater. Mark your calendars for April 18th because Mike Ryan is coming to town. From captivating vocals to unforgettable performances, this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us at the Crown Uptown Theater on April 18th and let Mike Ryan's music sweep you off your feet. Get tickets now at crownuptown.com.
Maximum Outdoor Equipment and Service is growing and ready for mowing season. Come see our new location at 21st and Andover Road or visit Kellogg and West Street. Mowing season is easier with the productivity of a Walker mower from Maximum Outdoor. Walker mower's compact design for easy maneuvering, out front deck for trimming, and a variety of attachments helps maintain a healthy lawn. Test drive a Walker mower at Maximum Outdoor's newest location, south of 21st and Andover Road, or south of Kellogg on West Street, or MaximumOutdoor.com.
Maximum Outdoor Equipment.
I'm Ben Winters. I'm not an actor. I'm an attorney. Really. If you've been hurt in a wreck, don't make the mistake of assuming insurance companies are on your side. They're not. That's why you need the best representation in Wichita. And according to the Wichita Eagle, Patterson Legal Group is the best law firm in town. We've recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for our clients. In a wreck, need a check? Call us today.
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
They're here. Spangle's new hot chicken melts. Tender grilled chicken piled high on toasted sourdough or crispy chicken chunks. Then topped with fresh lettuce and juicy tomatoes. And let's not forget the star of the show, the ooey gooey melted Swiss cheese. With every bite, you'll savor the perfect combination of flavors and textures. So why wait? Stop by Spangle's and sink your teeth into our new chicken melts. Grilled or crispy chunks. The ultimate sandwich experience. The Spangles Cherry Limeade Cocktail is the perfect drink to really quench your thirst. It has a 1-2 punch of sweet and tart. The Spangles Cherry Limeade Cocktail made with vodka is a refreshing cocktail that puts a fun twist on the classic flavor of cherry limeade. Dine in or visit Spangles Fast Drive-Thru. Take the party home by treating your guests to a Spangles Cherry Limeade Cocktail. And the extra shot is only 99 cents. Spangles, where cocktails just taste better. Spangles reminds you to please drink responsibly and do not drink and drive.
They say health is wealth, and I could not agree more. That's why if you or somebody in your life is living with everyday aches and pains, I want to tell you about Relief Factor. And I'm telling you, I can feel the difference. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that helps fight pain naturally. Naturally. Now that's a big deal. Developed by doctors. Relief Factor's unique formula of ingredients all work together to help support your body's response to inflammation. Instead of masking pain for a couple of hours, Relief Factor actually helps reduce or even eliminate your pain for good. Whether it's neck, back, joint, or muscle pain, if you're looking to feel better, live better, give Relief Factor a try. In 3 weeks, you will know if it's working because you'll feel it. For instance, I was sent Relief Factor to try, and I've been taking it every single day. I'll tell you what, I feel the difference every day. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Save on your first order. Don't let pain tell you how to live. Fight back naturally with Relief Factor. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888. That's 888-8888.
Minor League Baseball yesterday afternoon at Riverfront Stadium. The Wichita Wind Surge closing out a homestand, hosting Tulsa. Good day for the Surge. A 6-2 win for a split of the 6-game series at home. Wichita broke it open with 4 runs in the bottom of the 4th inning for back-to-back wins. Center fielder Emmanuel Rodriguez from Cuba, as he came up big with a run-scoring double. He leads all of AA in extra base hits. And the designated hitter, Andrew Cressetti, with a 3-run home run. 4,300 fans were on hand for this one yesterday. And coming out of the bullpen, John Stankiewicz. This season has a 1.08 earned run average with 2 scoreless innings there. Wichita has an off day today, heading out for 2 weeks on the road. In college men's golf, the American Championship finishing up in Tampa yesterday. Shocker men finishing in 3rd place in the American Golf Tournament. And junior Michael Winslow of the Shockers finished overall in 4th place. I'm Ted, the Sports Head.
The most listened to sports radio in Wichita is 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, that'll do it for us. Jim Rome follows us on the Infinity Sports Network next. Bob and Jeff back here locally on KFH. You'll get a little more Infinity Sports Network programming until the Royals take over at 6:30. Beginning that series in this crucial stretch here. Crucial early. I don't want to overstate it, but it's a big stretch of games for the Royals. If you can't hear them on KFH, by the way, you can always hear them on the Odyssey app. Just tune in to KFH and search for KFH on that Odyssey app. Tommy, enjoy the Monday.
That sounds good. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
For Jad and Tommy, I'm Jacob. See you then.